I just thought we'd up the stakes tonight.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2022 thriller Poker Face. The film is directed by Russell Crowe, who also stars in the film, as well as Liam Hemsworth, Raza or RZA, Aidan Young, Steve Bastoni and Daniel McPherson. Now, the film focuses on Russell Crowe's character, Jake Foley, who we learn is, essentially he's a gambler. He describes himself as a gambler at the beginning of the film. He made it big as a poker player, and that also then developed into him setting up his own tech company in the 90s or something. That's made him filthy rich, basically. I mean, he's a multi-millionaire stroke billionaire, potentially. And this one particular night, he invites a group of his childhood friends to his house for a high-stakes poker game. Unawares, though, the friends that he invites, he's kind of bringing them there for an ulterior motive because he wants some home truths from some of them. But at the same time, with him being so rich, he's got so many valuable art pieces in his property. There is an attempt from somebody to also rob him. Right. So, what are my thoughts on Poker Face? Well, I didn't realise, that this was directed by Russell Crowe until I started watching it. And I thought this was perhaps his first film that he's directed, but that's not true. He has directed a number of things, but like certainly a major film in 2014 he directed. And as a director, he's fine here, you know what I mean? He's very competent, adequately directed. A lot of actors who turn to directing are generally quite fine directors because they're obviously been directed by so many people over the years. I think the issue with this film is it's almost like it's one of those films you watch and you kind of think, well, what were the point of that? It's one of those films that kind of gets you in a sense of, I don't really understand what the purpose of all that was. I think the film personally starts as well. It's quite an indulgent start by Russell Crowe. You get a flashback to him as a child, where we are made aware of his fondness for poker. And then it kind of flashes forward to him going to this retreat somewhere to get some spiritual guidance or something like that. And you suspect that maybe there's something not right with him, health-wise. And then it kind of moves on to this flashy opening of these friends going to his house. And he essentially gives them all a car. He says, right, choose one of the cars from the garage and then drive to the location. So they get to choose any of these supercars that they want and they drive to the location. And when they get there, he basically says to them, right, you can either keep that car, and some of them are worth like a lot of money, or I'll give you 5 million in poker chips and we're going to have a high stakes game. So it kind of lays a few more ground rules sort of thing. So there's pluses and minuses. And then they decide to play this poker game sort of thing. Excuse me, I've got a chesty cough. During this poker game, and this isn't, I did debate whether I should talk about this, but it's actually in the trailer, so I don't see why I shouldn't. He kind of poisons them during this poker game. And this poison kind of enhances them wanting to tell the truth sort of thing. But for the life of me, I couldn't understand why he poisoned all of them. There's a couple that you're thinking, okay, I maybe understand that, but not everybody. It was a bit of a bizarre thing to do by Russell Crowe to his childhood friends, and his reasoning for doing it. Excuse me again. It's very, very hard to film videos at the minute because I've got this really chesty cough. I keep having to redo it and refilm them, but I'm not doing it again. It's about the fourth time I've tried to film this. So yeah, his reasoning for doing it just doesn't make any sense at all, really. And then you've got this other plot line going on in the film of him being robbed. That again, I was just like, well, where is this coming from? Did you think they needed to add a little bit more tension and action? to the film. It was a bizarre turn in the film. I don't personally think the film needed. Number one, and again, we go again. It's got all these valuable paintings, and one of the paintings in particular is worth nearly 200 million, I think. His security sucks. Surely you would have that stuff under lock and key so that, nobody could get in there, really. But no, his security is really bad. He gets in there way too easily to say that there's a fortune worth of valuable paintings and other stuff in his property. But for me, there's just too many loopholes in this film. The way he goes about things, it doesn't excuse what... His ultimate reason for doing what he does is no excuse. I'm going to cough again. Oh, terrible cough. So you kind of left there, scratching your head a bit, thinking, well, this is a bit of an odd film. It's tonally a bit odd. And I think the film would have been much better served to have a real... To say it's called Poker Face and it's about poker, there's very little poker in the film, unfortunately. You hinted with a high-stakes poker game, but you just get to see one hand, and that's not even a proper hand. I think the film would have been much better served with like a Casino Royale type extended scene of this poker game between childhood friends, with some of them hiding dark secrets that slowly come out for whatever reason, that ended in like confrontations. But it's not that type of film at all. It would have been better like that, I think. We don't get that at all, and we get this big kumbaya ending almost. It's an odd film. It's not a bad film. It's just an odd film. I just think it's pitched quite strangely, and there's things that just don't make sense in the film, if I'm honest. But it's a decent watch. There's performances in it that are fine. For the life of me, though, I'll never understand why they aged up Liam Hemsworth in this film. They make him up to be a much older man because he's supposed to be a childhood friend of Russell Crowe, who's 57. He's 57 in this film. I think he's in real life as well. Certainly when he made this. I'm sure you could have picked, I don't know, somebody of a better age to play the character that Liam Hemsworth plays. He doesn't do a bad performance. It just doesn't make sense that they age him up. He's not that good an actor to think, it has to be Liam Hemsworth. Nobody else can do this part. Age him up. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So yeah, coughing again. The characters aren't particularly memorable, other than the Russell Crowe character and maybe one or two others that kind of stand out a little bit. But it's just a little bit of an odd film, really. But if you've got an hour, it's not that long actually, just over an hour and a half as well. It kind of paced quite nicely. It's just like I say, there are bits in it that just don't make a lot of sense to me. So anyway, before I start coughing again, thanks for watching. I'll be back with loads more reviews and content on the channel very, very soon.